Welcome to MLT online classes. In this lecture, I'm going to discuss about thrombosis. So what is thrombosis, students? Thrombosis means formation of clots with fibrin thread, red blood cells and platelets. Together they will form a clot, and this clot will be present within the blood vessels. So formation of clots within the blood vessels is called as thrombosis. And is there any problem when we have thrombosis? Obviously there is a problem, okay? So these blood clots will block the blood supply, blood flow to the organs, and those organs don't get the sufficient oxygen, resulting in hypoxic condition. Due to lack of oxygen, the organs will become dysfunctional and they will die. They will go to a condition called ischemia. So ultimately the organ will fail. So a simple blood clot within the blood vessel will result in a deadly consequences. So we will know what causes thrombosis and what are the complications of thrombosis. Okay. So in this lecture I will discuss about definition of thrombosis, then causes of thrombosis and complications of thrombosis. Okay. So let me write definition first. So thrombosis are intravascular. These are intravascular blood clots, which is referred as coagulated blood with fibrin mesh containing red blood cells and platelets. So these will clot within the lumen of the blood vessel. So these clots will form. These clots are called thrombus, and this thrombus will block the major organs that results in ischemia. So what are the causes that will cause thrombus? Let us see. So next one is causes of thrombosis. So next one is causes of thrombosis. So what causes thrombosis? So first one is injury to the blood vessels. So injury to blood vessels means, so this is a blood vessel and blood vessel got injured, it got a damage, and these damaged blood vessels have endothelial cells. These endothelial cells will release von Willebrand factor, and this von Willebrand factor in turn activates platelets to coagulate, adhere, and these platelets will get activated and they will form a small clots. So injured blood vessels can produce thrombus generation. So that is injured blood vessels. How injured blood vessels will make thrombus formation. So next one is roughened endothelium of blood vessels. Roughened endothelium of blood vessel. So there are few conditions where the blood vessel wall will become very rough due to deposition of fat. Due to deposition of fat and cholesterol, they will become very rough. Okay, so whenever the blood is flowing through these roughened structures, these platelets will get aggregated. Platelets will aggregate due to roughened structure, and those aggregated platelets will in turn activated and they will form clots. So roughened blood vessels, and this roughened or hardened blood vessel is called as atherosclerosis. Hardening of blood vessels, and this atherosclerosis is one of the major deadly consequence of organ failures. Okay, that is seen in diabetic patients. So roughened blood vessels can result in thrombus formation. Then decreased blood flow can also result in thrombus formation. So how decreased blood flow will result in thrombus formation? Let me say. So whenever there is a decreased blood flow, that will also decreases the flow of all the cell components. So the platelets will start aggregating. So since they are not going separately each other, so they will start aggregating one on another, and that aggregated platelets will in turn activate fibrinogen, and it will fibrinogen will convert to fibrin, and that results in thrombus formation. So what are the conditions that will cause decreased blood flow? So first one is hypotension. Hypotension will cause a decreased blood pressure. Then second one is immobility. So for example, patients who are always in the bed rest. So bed rest patients won't walk much often, right? So there is a high chance of getting thrombus in immobile patients. Or decreased metabolism. Decreased metabolism can also trigger thrombus formation within the blood vessels. So that is decreased blood flow results in thrombus. So another cause is toxic thrombosis. So what is toxic thrombosis? So if we have any taking of toxic substances like mercury, arsenic, or other heavy metals, these heavy metals will hyperactivate the platelets, and these hyperactivated platelets will in turn activate the fibrinogen, and that fibrinogen will convert to fibrin, and that will cause thrombus within the blood vessels. So toxins can trigger thrombus formation. Low blood flow decreased blood flow can trigger thrombosis. Then roughened endothelium of blood vessels can trigger thrombosis, and also injured blood vessels can also trigger thrombosis. So whenever there is a thrombus, what are the complications that we'll get due to this thrombus generation? So next one is complications of thrombosis. Complications of thrombosis. So we have 4 complications. Thrombus formation, obviously. Thrombus formation of a clot. Then we have embolism. Then we have ischemia, and we have one more thing, necrosis. So what is thrombus formation? As we already discussed, formation of this blood clot is called thrombus. Now what is embolism? Now this clot, if the clot present in the veins, and this is called a large clot within the veins, is called as thrombus. If this clot become degraded and clot become small granules, and the small granules will move to the various parts of the body. So it will start moving to various parts of the body, and these clots will become systemic. So they will block multiple organs within our body. That results in a condition called disseminated intravascular coagulation. So the coagulated parts are disseminated throughout the body, and that causes a condition called DIC, and this disseminated systemic thrombus is called as embolism. Okay. Then we have ischemia. Ischemia means lack of blood flow to any organ. Lack of blood flow will result in ischemia. That results in decreased oxygen supply to that organ, and that organ will become a ischemic organ. That means lack of blood flow. Now necrosis. So necrosis is the next stage of ischemia. So if that organ not getting any oxygen, means that organ will start decaying. That means that organ will start dying, and dying is called as necrotized. Necrotizing means killing or death, organ tissue death is necrosis. All these are the 4 major complications in thrombus formation. So first is thrombus, large clot within the veins, and embolism, disseminated thrombus particles within the veins resulting in multi-organ failure is called as embolism, whereas ischemia means prevention of blood flow to particular organ is called ischemia, and necrosis means tissue death. So this is it. That is thrombosis. If you have any more doubts, you can ask me later. See you, students.